After the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks on the United States, counterterrorism was focused on preventing another such spectacular assault. But 14 years later, the new spectacular was the Charlie Hebdo attack in Paris, which was low-scale and low-tech, but made a huge impact. A major world capital was shut down by a few armed people with firearms and homemade bombs. The attackers were two Islamist brothers who grew up in France. They were not trained and radicalized in an Al-Qaeda camp. It happened online. David Kilcullen is a leading international anti-terrorism expert. He spoke via Skype.
As little as 5 years ago, it was still a topic of debate in the intelligence community as to whether it was actually possible to recruit and then operationalize somebody purely online. This is part of a much more sophisticated strategy that uses social media and the internet and communications tools, and it now has access to military-grade weaponry because of the war in Syria and Iraq.
The returning foreign fighter is the new normal too. The CIA estimates about 20,000 foreign volunteers have joined jihadist groups. Some 3,000 come from Europe. The flow continues, says the RAND Corporation's top counterterrorism expert, Brian Jenkins, also via Skype.
The Prime Minister of France said that there would be up to 10,000 European volunteers in Syria and Iraq by the end of 2015. Some will acquire experience, skills, and contacts, which will make them much more formidable adversaries if they choose to continue the jihad at home.
The conflict-ridden Middle East and other regions have created failed states, while groups such as the self-styled Islamic State are seizing territories and trying to govern. But Jenkins says the trend is doomed to failure because of their plunder-based economy.
It functions largely by expanding into new territory, emptying banks, selling off construction equipment, automobiles, trucks, generators, whatever it can. You have to keep on expanding to feed that economy, or it begins to implode.
An even greater challenge to keeping a jihadist state is the ferocity of its proponents, says Philip Mudd, a former high-ranking CIA and FBI official.
When I get the question of how do you think we're doing in this war, my answer is always, who was winning the war of ideas? People have decided across the Islamic world that what we've seen in the past 15 years is the murder of innocents, and that's never acceptable.
Polls show that in most Muslim countries, large majorities reject violence against civilians. The prevailing view, says Mudd, is that such acts are never justified as a means of defending Islam from its enemies. Many Muslim scholars today also say the caliphates of old were filled with artists, scientists, inventors, and pious people, not violent fundamentalist jihadists on a rampage against anyone who does not share their beliefs. Jela De Franceschi for VOA News in Washington.